is no investigation. This boy has...
There is not, really? This to me.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
But I have to put her on the side and worry about
I'm gonna do what I gotta do for me and my boys and my kids.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
There is no investigation. This boy
There is
has...
not, really? This to me. Right, idiot.
I've done my best. It's hard, that's real tough.
but I have to put her on the side and worry about the boys.
I'm gonna do what I gotta do for me and my boys and my kids.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
Live from the NBD Production Studios, you're in the lab with your host, Joshua Diaz.
There is no investigation. This boy has...
There is not, really? It is to me.
But I have to put her on the side and worry about the boys. But I have to...
There is no investigation.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
But I have to put her... But I have to put her on the side and worry about the boys.
Welcome, everybody, to the lab. How are you doing this evening? I'm your host, Joshua Diaz. It is the last day of February 28th already. Heading into March. It's a sharp turn. Things are supposed to be getting warmer. They're supposed to be getting more, things are supposed to be going on outside, and summer's right around the corner. But, got to get through spring first. But spring is beautiful. It's just a new time. Everything's new. My neighbor has these. It's like a cherry blossom tree, and it sucks because it sort of hangs over my house. And what happens is those things stick everywhere. Super pretty for like 2 or 3 days. But yeah, it sucks. And if you have allergies, that's going to be a problem too. I hope none of you have allergies. Pollen is everywhere. The bees are out. It's gonna, I like it as long as you don't have allergies. And so tonight we are going to hear from, and I don't believe that Mary has ever been on this channel. She's called into the show during the call-in, but it hasn't been like a planned thing. She watches, she's in chat. And I've tried to be as protective of Mary and her sister as possible, and as respectful as possible. But I want to say this really fast before Mary joins us. This whole thing that Mary is now being attacked for, and we'll go into it and we'll talk about, other things as well, depending on, how she feels about it. The thing is, it was me that started this. And Mary has been attacked relentlessly by a lot of less than loquacious humans. People who think that they know more than they do. I look, I'm one of those. I've been like that before. I've felt like that before. But it's me. And I was, trying not to listen to things. And she was just being attacked for something I said that she told me. And now I'm not saying that she told me this in confidence. I'm not saying that she didn't say, you can say this or you can say that. I didn't necessarily ask for permission, but it was something that I thought at the time was worthy of bringing up. And I do regret it. I regret it for several reasons. One of the biggest reasons is because it is speculation. It is accusatory. There's no proof of anything. So in that instance, I should have used better judgment, and I didn't. And I also didn't want to drag in somebody that didn't deserve that. Along the way, I also felt like, and maybe you feel like this or you don't, and I don't know if Mary feels like this, but we can ask her. I in no way, shape, or form wanted Mary to be attacked, and I should have known better. And I will not hang her out to dry. And she wants to set the record straight along with me. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. Mary, are you there? Let me see. So, okay, here we go. You there, Mary?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hear you loud and clear. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Did you cook tonight?
Yeah, I made tacos. I didn't make a video, but
Tuesday,
yeah,
Taco Tuesday, right?
Yep.
Solid.
Yeah.
Love that. So,
Right.
I don't know. Were you able to hear the intro?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so I just wanted to, first of all, we haven't really talked about this much, but I do want to say I feel like I left you hanging out there, and I apologize that it went that way, and I apologize that you've been attacked for something that you told me. Now, like I said, I do regret bringing it out the way that I did, and I probably could have done it in a better way. I didn't. But people are getting really confused about the difference between something that was reported to CPS and an actual CPS case, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're getting it all confused and
you,
turning it around
yeah,
to something which is not. So yeah.
and you've been attacked personally.
Yeah.
As
yeah,
have I.
Yeah.
So basically what I want to do is, we can talk about a bunch of different things tonight, but what I do want to talk about is this, I wouldn't say incident, but this confusion surrounding what went down. And by the way, I apologized for this some time ago. And I was willing to drop it, and I did drop it.
Mm-hmm.
And people went and hunted down others, and they said, hey, let's throw them on there and see what they have to say. And you got called a liar. I got called a liar. We got called all kinds of names, right? Which is,
right.
By the way, that's all fair game for me. Like, I don't have as much skin in the game as you do. And I didn't grow up with Dawn, and I don't care what people call me. And I'm not a victim of Dawn's. I'm not, I wasn't around to see Dawn's, I mean, I've seen some of it, but let's just clear this up first and foremost, and then we can move on from that, because I said this yesterday. People are dumb and they don't understand stuff. You know what I mean? I don't know why they don't understand, but they don't. Now, me throwing that out there the way that I did, and it was a bit careless on my end, no question about it. And I apologize to Margie and I apologize to Mary, and I am sorry because I understand that even just the notion that this was reported to CPS, which you say that you did, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. That does obviously kick up dirt. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And while I didn't know what I was doing, the reason that I brought it up is because I had a long list of CPS, stuff that was going on with Don, and some of it did involve his children and his wife and the divorce. I mean, I think you saw some of it as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, that's just how it is. But under no circumstance did you or I ever say that this was a fact. Now, I get it. It can be semantics, but that's my fault, okay? The fact that it happened, it just happened, okay? It's allegations. You don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's true. We only know what we've been told.
Right. And I was thinking about it, and it's like, well, what do you do when you get this kind of information from somebody else? Do you just let it go and say, okay, not do nothing about it, just sweep it under the carpet? Or do you report it to someone? I mean, in my opinion, I felt like I was doing the right thing, reporting that, and not once, ever, never did I say Donnie had done stuff to his daughter. Never once did I say that. All I said was I reported it to CPS. So, and a lot of people are like getting it like mixed up or something, but.
So so it was reported to CPS, and that's as far as that went, as far as we know. And so, people say, well, you're accusing him. No, I'm really not. I can understand the indirect implication of it. But I thought at the time, and I mean, I thought it was relevant, and I'm not going to say whether I still think it is or not, because it doesn't matter. It's out there. And I thought at the time that it was the right thing to do. But when you did it, it was absolutely the right thing to do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
if somebody tells you that, what are you going to do with it, Mary?
Right. Exactly. I mean, like I said, I thought I was doing the right thing. And then you get all these other people, I don't know, I call them haters.
Yeah.
And they just hate on you, and I mean, it's like, well, I thought I was doing the right thing. Wouldn't they have done the same thing in my position?
Yes.
I guess not.
Well, if they cared, yes.
Right.
Yes. Most people would do what you, and matter of fact, there are people that are mandated reporters. So sometimes you have no choice. And Gwen and Trevor, thank you guys so much for your super chat. Hold on there. Sorry, Mary. I have no way to save them now because I'm on a different program, and it's a nightmare, really. Trevor says we will always have Mary and Jeannie's back. I agree with that 100%. And then Gwen, let's see. You got a lot of support here, Mary. And I know that you have been picked on and told that you're a liar and everything that you can think of. And by the way, have we ever, I don't think we've ever done a show together like this, have we?
No, I don't think so.
I've been on your channel when we made burgers.
Yeah.
And I've been on with you on the interview room, but I was always just very weary and nervous about the way that it would come off, like having you on to talk about this kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is, you know, I messaged you last night and I felt, and I heard you on some other shows, kind of trying to not necessarily clean it up, but try to explain what was going on.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that this is the place that you can do it, because this is where it originated from. And so you deserve the audience to hear, you know, this audience deserves to hear what you have to say, because you are allowed to defend yourself just like everybody else.
Right.
And so that's why you're here. And we can, like I said, we can also talk about many other things. But I mean, when you told me that, and we were just talking about that, when you told me that happened, I was stunned. I was shocked, because I was like, whoa, like that to me was pertinent information. Okay.
Right.
And I misstepped with it. I think I truly think I did. I didn't think it out well. And I was thinking about how to broach, because I sat on it for a while, and then, you know, Donald shows up in the chat. I wasn't talking about any of that. And he was just like, you know, calling me a liar, saying I was all about drama, so on and, you know, whatever. And so finally I was just like, look, man. And I even asked him about it. I even asked Don about this, like privately. And basically I got the F you, you're dumb, you know.
Right.
And it came out the way that it came out. And it was not the way that I wanted it to come out.
Right.
But it happened.
Well,
and Mary, you reported it. What I mean is, it came out, I said it, and somebody told you, and you reported it.
Yeah.
I mean, end of story.
Yeah. You know, I mean, and it's not mine and yours fault for them, you know, what's the word? Misconstruing what we were talking about, what we said. You know what I mean? Or what you said. It's like they just instantly took it as we were accusing them, you know, or Donnie. So, you know, so don't feel too bad about it, Josh. I mean, you know what I mean? You were just,
I don't feel, like I said, I don't feel too bad about it. But what I feel bad about is the collateral damage. That's what bothers me. The story itself doesn't bother me, because in any investigation, in any case, even that would be relevant information. I don't care if there are people out there that say that's not relevant. Well, I reject your theory. Okay. I don't believe that it's not relevant. I believe all of it is all relevant, and there's a 5-year-old girl still missing. Lay it out on the table. Let's go. Here it is.
Yep.
No more games. No more, you know, I mean, these accusations, these child CPS cases that go back, you know, 30 years, 35 years. Yep. I didn't do that. You didn't do that.
Right. No. You know, and I was even almost to the point where I was thinking about going down here to the CPS, you know, the people that I called 20 years ago or 30 years ago, you know what I mean? And just going in there and talking to them and letting them know, you know, I had called CPS and, you know, I don't know, maybe try and get a letter from him or the original report from him or something, because it kind of made me that upset that everybody was thinking that I was lying or whatever. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, and let's say this, I for the people that think that you're lying, those are the people that defend Don. And
Yeah.
anybody that, in my opinion, that defends Don and his actions of the past. And by the way, I've covered him ad nauseum here, and I'm not trying to bring it all back up. I promise I'm not. I'm not here to talk about that. But anybody that defends somebody who has admitted to these things in the past, to me, lacks a certain, I don't know, type of brain cell that that would be required to see through this guy.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
What's your goal? You know, what has your goal been? You know, because I know that you and Don have had an up and down relationship, and it's been tumultuous at best.
Right.
The information
Right.
that you're bringing out that we've talked about, what's your goal?
Well, you know, a lot of people think that I'm like going after Donnie. I'm not, I don't think of it as like going after him. I just want people to know the way we grew up with him, you know, and what we had to go through, you know, growing up with him and how he was treated like a king, you know, and we had to, all my mom's kids, we had to walk around on eggshells because Donnie was so, I don't know, I guess you want to say spoiled, I guess. I'm not sure how to word it, but, you know, but he was the one who was always getting in trouble. Always stealing, you know, from his own parents, you know. I mean, it's just, I just feel like people need to know what, you know, he done growing up, what he was like, all that. I think that it's really important in Summer's case, you know. So,
And I do too. And so when you talk about walking on eggshells, so if you were to say like confront Don for something that he did, how did that go over?
right, yeah, if he did something, you know, and I would confront him about it or something, and he would act the way he acts today. You know, it would go into an argument, and he would always put blame on me or somebody else, you know.
Right. And then his father, your stepfather, would take his side.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that's, by the way, that's not necessarily unusual in when, you know, you have a split family either, by the way, because I'm sure that your mother probably really took up for you guys as well, right?
Well, yeah, she tried to, but she really didn't have a voice because my dad was so strict with her and with us too. I mean, were there threats? Were there threats of, you know, getting kicked out or whatever? Well, yeah, you know, when I went in and done the report on Donnie and his two friends, I mean, I was 14 years old at the time, Josh. I didn't have anywhere to go, you know, and when you're 14 and you don't have a job, you don't have money, you don't have anywhere to go, what do? You listen to your dad and you do what he says, you know what I mean? And that's all you can do. He always protected Donnie, you know? So. Yeah. I mean, and that's just obviously unfortunate. And so, you know, growing up, one of the things that he touts is that, you know, that he treated you and Jeannie well and things like that. That now, you know, I really don't want to talk about Jeannie too much at all. Right. But can I ask how she's doing? Well, right now she's not doing real good. I mean, it's just all this is just really hard on her, you know? And so, but I mean, she's doing okay. I mean, you know, she's, you know, trying to live her life and get on with her life and, you know, put everything behind her. But yeah, you know, she's doing okay.
Another big misconception that people talk about is the fact that, say, McDonough was the one that encouraged you guys to call when this happened. Can you tell us when you called, why you called, and who you called?
Yeah, we didn't even know Chris McDonough at the time that we called. Is he the very first person to get a hold of anybody was Trish, and she got a hold of the people at Unmasked. And so, I mean, we didn't even know Chris McDonough for probably a month or two before it was even into us, you know, and me and Jeannie were just talking right after Summer went missing, and, you know, we were, you know, sharing what we both knew about him, and we just figured that it would help for TBI to know what happened in the past and everything. You know what I mean?
And so you think that the past behavior of Dawn is relevant?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And we've had that conversation before, because I agree with you 100%. I think that anybody's past behavior is relevant. That's why they keep criminal, you know, that's why they keep files of, you know, court records. And what does the judge do when you walk into his courtroom? He pulls out your file and takes a look. Well, you've done this before, you've done that before. Now, obviously, you know, there has been some admitting and things like that, and then revisions of that. But I do kind of want to focus on just more of the like verbal abuse and things like that. I mean, was he verbally abusive? Did he yell at you guys? Is that, you know, because,
Johnny?
and I do want to say this too, because the people had Pam on, and
Right.
You know, I'm not going to say Pam lied or whatever. I don't know. They're allowed to defend who they want to defend if they're actually defending for the right reasons. Now, I mean, I've seen the police reports of the abuse. And for her to say that, you know, he never harmed me, well, that's really hard to believe, considering the 1994 case in Florida where he broke her nose and slammed her into the wall, kicked the door open, and you know, so I don't understand that.
Right.
And you were called a liar again, and so was I.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, well,
can you talk about kind of the temper and the, you know?
Right. Well, yeah, Donnie was always, you know, he would actually get really pissed off if we like told Donnie for doing something. He'd get mad, you know, and it's like, well, you know, Mom and Dad need to know about this, you know, but nothing really ever happened, even though we told them thousands of times everything he did, you know, because like I said, you know, Donnie was like, you know, king of the house. He pretty much rolled it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and his dad kind of bailed him out of trouble. Is that what you're saying?
And more than just trouble, you know. I mean, it's there's so much that went on, you know, during the years that.
Well, and I can understand that. And I heard you. I don't remember whose channel you were on. And even if I did, I wouldn't. Whatever. But you were saying that wasn't the only time that came up about. And by the way, I want to say this too. Don has said despicable things regarding his daughter when she was young.
Yeah.
We've all heard it. It's been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why he would throw that into the ether like he did, but he certainly did.
Right.
And let's see. So, I'm not saying that Pam's lying. I'm not saying Margie's lying. Look, I don't know what's in people's head, but when we're talking about Dawn as a person, who, if you would like to tell, who else said that to you?
Oh, it was Pam. Pam told me.
And who was the other lady that I heard?
Oh my gosh, what's her name? Linda?
Yeah, I don't know.
What's her name? Yeah. And she's a friend, or she was a friend of Pam's. So yeah.
And she says the same thing.
Yeah. 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 And so, I don't know why Pam is lying for Donnie, because all the problems they had when they were together, and I don't know how many times she came to my mom's house, just to crying up a storm because Donnie had beat the crap out of her, So it's ridiculous.
Yes, it is raining. Big time. So let's talk about this portion of it. Yeah, and Pam says that didn't happen, but it's all alleged. There's nothing there that we don't have any proof of anything other than what Don has said himself.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about the Donnie Jr. selling incident that you witnessed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, we were at my mom's house, and Pam had came in. It was probably about 11:30 midnight. And she had came in with little Donnie and Margie, and she said she had just caught Donnie trying to sell little Donnie for drugs on 25th Street. And he was really bad into drugs, that's what people do. When you're so bad into drugs, you don't care. You don't care about nothing except for getting your next fix, and I understand that, about drugs and everything, because I've had so many people, so many friends on drugs, and it's even killed them and stuff. And, it's a shame, and you try to help them, but, they just keep turning back to drugs. It's like they don't want help. The kind of help they want is money to go buy more drugs.
And Pam denies that happened as well, correct?
Yeah. But then again, Margie comes on and she's talking about her dad, how good of a guy he was and everything. But she's like, well, he went on his binges every Friday, his drug binges every Friday. Margie said it herself, and then she was saying, well, he's a good dad when he was around, which wasn't very often. She also said that. So, for Pam to come in and say, oh, that didn't happen, but then her daughter comes in and says it did, so.
One of and this is why I think maybe that happened was because obviously, I kind of threw them, well, not Pam, but Margie, I kind of threw them in the middle of stuff. And then people started reaching out to her because of me. And so, I could see kind of just wanting to try to set the record straight and kind of back away from what's going on.
Right.
But, you know, like I said, I do regret that part of it. Tell me a little bit. So you were around Don when he was in Utah before Summer went missing, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
How was that?
Well, he was here for about 6 months, and I seen him about once every 3 or 4 days or so when I would go to my mom. So, you know, and he had Josie, his oldest son, here with him. And when they first got here, the feeling I got was, you know, him and Candace were having problems because he comes to Utah unannounced. Didn't call my mom and dad, say he was coming for a visit or nothing. He just showed up in a black truck with his motorcycle in the back and all his clothes and some of Josie's clothes. And, yeah. And then he stayed here for like 6 months. And
what was he doing, working there?
He was working in Park City for a while, doing, you know, drywall for the new homes up there. And they're pretty expensive up there in Park City. But I'm not sure what, you know, how much money he was making or anything like that.
Or him and Candace on the outs?
Well, that's the vibe I got. I don't know. You know, when he got here, I asked him. I said, well, what are you doing here? Why'd you come down here? And he said that he's always wanted to come back to Utah, and he wanted to sell his house and move his family down here. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, he said that many times that he wanted to move back to Utah. You know, and I you know, I don't have any reason to not believe that, nor do I necessarily care. But so how was Don's behavior that 6 months? I mean, from what you gathered?
I don't know. I mean, I have always thought that Donnie came here for a reason, because every time I would go to my mom, he was in the bedroom because my dad was constantly in bed, you know, and he was always in the bedroom arguing with my dad, and it was always over money. And you could just hear Donnie screaming at him, telling him, you owe me. I need money, you owe me. You know, and then, I mean, it wasn't about, he was here for probably about 2 months or so, and I had went over there, and my mom was just livid. She was so pissed off. She couldn't stand it. And I'm like, what is going on? And she's like, well, Donnie thinks he's going to get his family and the mother-in-law and bring them down here and move them into our house. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, apparently Donnie pretty much, told my mom and dad, I'm moving my family in and you ain't got nothing to say about it, pretty much.
Said that to your mother?
You know? Yep. And I was just like, no, that's not happening.
Was your mother?
I'll move
go ahead.
For that.
Right. Right. Well, so was your mother there the night that Pam allegedly told you guys that that Don tried to sell little Donnie?
Yeah.
So she witnessed that too.
Yeah, I seen somebody in the chat saying, "Well, why would Pam go to Mary's mom?" Because Pam didn't have any family here. She knew nobody except for Donnie. You know, and the kids and all our, you know, my sisters and brothers and my mom and dad. That's all she knew. She didn't have any friends. She didn't have anywhere to go. You know, and when something like that happens, of course she's going to go. She's going to come to my mom's, you know. I mean, that was like, you know, the only place she could go and vent and visit and be with other people, you know. Do
you have an axe to grind with Don?
No, I don't. No, I don't feel like I have an axe to grind with him. No, I don't. Like I said, I just feel like people need to know his past, you know? I just feel like it's very relevant. And, you know, and another thing is why I come out too is because Donnie, you know, he won't shut up. And of course he comes on and says stuff about me. And, you know, and of course I feel like I have to defend myself, you know?
Yeah.
So
no, I mean, I can understand that as well. And then strangers coming at you as well. You know, you want to defend yourself, but let me just give you a little bit of advice here. The internet is nuts, and people can be just ruthless. And I've kind of just gotten to the point where, like, I don't care about that. I don't care about those people.
right.
So really, you know, they're just kind of like wasting their breath with me. I do what I do. They can do what they do. And we just, you know, they don't have to like it.
Right.
I don't have to like what they do.
Right. You know, and I've learned from, you know, YouTube and being on, you know, other panels and stuff, that's the way it is. If you're going to go on, you're going to talk, you're going to get backlash.
No
you know?
question.
And if you can't handle it, then get out of the kitchen, I guess.
Right. And that's another thing is that Dawn has not been able to manipulate and threaten and scare you the way that he has done to others, which I have on pretty good authority that he does like to try to intimidate people. He's done it to me personally.
Yes. Yep.
And so did you ever get any of that?
Say that again.
Did you ever get any of that, like, abuse or threats, or say, hey, you know, why are you doing this? You need to shut up, you know, this and that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Recently as well?
Yeah. Huh?
Like recently in the last year or so?
Let me think. Well, yeah, when I think it was the very last phone call that I had with him about, what was it? Was it last August? Or no, it was in August of 2021. Yeah, he was very mad at me. He was so pissed off. He was yelling and screaming, and yeah, I've got that on a phone call.
Yeah, I have too. But you grew up with that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It is pretty. Let's see. True Cowgirl says, "More power to Mary." I agree, and that's why. That's why I wanted you to come on here, because this is. It's not that you haven't been criticized before. You most certainly have in the past, but this whole new round of criticism, I take responsibility for, and that's what we're doing here, is kind of clearing up. You know, you're allowed to say what happened as children, and Dawn is allowed to dispute it. It's not a It's not a legal matter. It's not a slanderous thing. You know, he obviously either remembers it differently than you or lying, and the same goes for you. However, and I don't, you know, when people want to say, well, there's things you don't know about Mary. Well, one thing I do know is that Mary doesn't have a child missing. Okay.
Right.
I talked about it the other night. It's the whataboutisms. What about this person? What about that? What, you did this and you did that. And that's fine as long as we're comparing apples to apples.
Right.
You know, but we're not. And that's not why we're here. What everybody does is, when there is criticism thrown their way, and look, you know, it's a tactic, and it somewhat kind of works, but it's kind of for the feeble-minded as well. that say, well, yeah, he may have done this, but you've done that. Okay. But what you have to accuse somebody of has to be like far worse in the same category. Like, I don't, Barry, I don't, your daughter's not missing. Okay. You didn't just get out of jail after 8 months of drinking and driving and all these domestics, they've had domestic disputes up there even after Summer went missing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
What do you think the reason for that phone call, the prank phone call, was?
I think it was just for a joke so they could laugh about it and get off on it, I guess. I don't know. I felt really bad for Candace when she called me, and, so whatever, I guess, if that's the way they want to make me feel, fine. But, in my opinion, Donnie and Candace, they're getting everything they deserve, I firmly believe in karma, and.
Yeah, I believe in karma to a certain degree, but this is beyond karma. I mean, this is just the boomerang of just living a life that the way that they have. And Summer's situation, and I hate to say it this way, but I mean, this was waiting to happen. Something was, this was in the works for years.
Right. Yeah.
For years.
See, Josh, when all this stuff came out, how the kids were being treated and how they were living in filth and all that, the first thing that came to my mind was Donnie and Pam all over again, because that's exactly how they lived. They had roaches. They had silverfish. The kids had scabies. The kids had lice. They were shaving the kids' heads completely bald because Pam would not try to get rid of them the normal way. All kids, I believe, probably get lice at least once in their lifetime, because of school.
My son had it 3 different times.
Right, yeah,
But he was a boy, and I shaved his head just once.
Right, right. That was Pam and Donnie's go-to get rid of the lice, shave the head. That's why I couldn't understand. That's why I did understand why the boys' heads were shaved and Summer's head was shaved, because in my opinion, I really do. I think they have lice, and they're just too lazy to try and get rid of it.
Yeah, and I think, just to do that to a child, and I don't know how Summer felt about it, but I had a nephew that the barber was cutting his hair, and it was like the guard fell off, and it took like just a chunk right out of the top. He looked like Friar Tuck. And
oh no!
Yeah, the only way, the guy was like, "Look, you can leave it up there and wear a yarmulke or something, but like." Right. They were like, "Nah, I'll shave it," and he was like 7. Oh man, he was devastated.
Right? Yeah. Yep.
It was just devastated. Yeah. So I just, what. I'm not saying that that was nefarious or anything like that, but it's just not something that personally I would have done. But a lot of people do choose to handle it that way. But yeah, a lot of people are not. Yeah, some people do consider it abuse to do that, and I don't really have an opinion on that, but I hope not. I hope that it wasn't just she's got lice, shave her head. I don't think that would really be the way to handle that. Where did Don stay when he was in Utah before Summer went missing?
He stayed at my mom's. He came and pulled in the driveway, and that's where he stayed. I think he stayed in one of the bedrooms for a couple of days, but then he started staying out in the motorhome. Actually, I have the motorhome right now. My mom and dad gave it to me after Donnie left. So
What'd you find in there?
I found needles. I found little teeny tiny baggies with residue in them. You know, so yeah,
And
I found a lot.
He had a child in there with him. We don't have to say his name, but he had his oldest child there.
Yep, I found clothes in there. It was a total mess. I was even afraid to bring it home because of the roaches. When he got here, he brought roaches with him, and it took my mom and dad, oh heck, like over 6 months to get rid of them. And I don't know how many trips from the exterminator, you know, so.
Wow. I mean, that's just the fact that a child was in there. It is heartbreaking.
Yeah, you know, and Don was very adamant that he didn't want Josie in the house. And I know that for a fact because of that day that I went to my mom's and Josie was in the front room. And
why do you why do you think that was?
I don't know, you know, because it was like Donnie did not want him in the house for some reason. And I was just trying to talk to Josie because I had talked to him a couple of other times, but he just seemed like he was really shy and he didn't really want to talk or anything. And then the one day I went over there and I actually got him to open up and start talking to me for a minute. And I was just asking him how, you know, school was going, and I asked him how old he was and, you know, how he liked coming down here and being in Utah. And Donnie walked in, and I mean, his eyes got so big, Josh, like he was just in fear. And Donnie looked right at him and he said, "What the hell are you doing in this house? I told you never to come into this house when I'm not here." And he just looked at Donnie and he goes, "Well, I was watching cartoons." And Donnie basically picked him up and kicked his ass all the way out to the motorhome.
Why? Why do you think he did that?
I don't know. I was like, and I even looked at my mom. I'm like, what's going on? Why is he treating him like that? You don't, you know. And I even looked at Donnie before he took him out to the RV. I told him, I said, "Donnie, he's okay in here. He's all right. He's not causing no problems." And Donnie just scowled at me and told Josie to get the hell out in the trailer, and, you know, kicked his butt all the way out to the trailer.
Jeez.
So it was just really weird, you know.
And you were there. You were right there. You witnessed it.
Yeah, I was right there. And Josie, he looked like he had the fear of God in him, you know, like he was in trouble. So.
Well, you know, being a young kid, I mean, when your dad's upset, it can be a really scary thing. You know, my grandpa very, very rarely got when he was pissed. It was like, oh God, you know. But that's, you know, to have to. I don't know if he lived like that every day or not, but you know, that sounds just mean to me.
Right. Yeah. You know, I mean, you didn't have to be that harsh on him for being in the house. You know, and I don't know why he was all upset about it, but he was. He didn't want him in the house when he wasn't there, I guess. Maybe he was afraid he was going to talk to somebody and say something. I don't know.
About like what was going on in the.
Yeah.
So you said you found needles in there?
Oh, yes, I did. I found 2 of them. Yep.
Interesting.
Yep. Oh.
That's terrible. Hold on a second.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, that's Donnie's go-to drug is to shoot up. So.
Yeah. Well, oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, that's just. he's asked me times when he's been pissed at me. He says, "Hey," he says, "What's wrong with you? You on drugs?" He says that to like that when he gets mad at me.
Right.
No, I'm not, but it's just kind of one of his go-tos. What's wrong with you? You on drugs? And I said, no, I'm not. But I could see. Okay, so tell me a little bit about sober Don.
When he's not on the drugs, Josh, he's a halfway. I have to admit it. He's a halfway decent guy. But when he's not when he is on the drugs, it's like watch out. And he's more on the drugs than he's not.
Right. And it's been that way for some time, or I mean, has he?
Right.
He's used like that for some time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Alcohol and people do struggle with that. I mean, that's just a very,
Right. And another thing is too. I mean, every night that he would come home from working up in Park City, he would bring beer home and go out in that motorhome and put music on and crank it. I mean, he would have it so loud that the neighbors would complain. Can you please turn that down? More than once, my mom and dad had to go out there and say, Donnie, you have to turn your music down. And he would just sit and bitch at him. Oh, whatever, swear at him, cuss at him.
You're
tell him.
And this was this last time?
Yeah, when he was here in Utah. I mean, even my husband had to go in there once. We went over there, and because my dad really likes my husband. I don't know why, but he loves him. And so we try to go over there and visit because my dad always wants to see him. And we had went over there, and he even had, it wasn't the first time. It was like the sixth time that we had walked through the door. And Donnie's in the bedroom screaming and yelling at my dad, telling him he owes him this and he owes him that, and how it was all his fault, as everything that Donnie's been through was my dad's fault. And my husband went in there, and I kind of told him, I said, well, it's kind of between Donnie and my dad, and he goes, no, I'm not putting up with it. I am not having Donnie talk like that to your dad. I ain't doing it. So he goes in there and he yelled at Donnie. He goes, if you're going to talk to your dad this way, you can just get the hell out of here, because I am not going to put up with that.
Your husband?
Yeah, and Donnie just looked at him and went out into the RV. So
wow. What was his reasoning for leaving?
Donnie?
Like leaving Utah back to, other than that he had a family. I mean, I get that.
Right. The day he left here, I went to my mom's. I pulled up. Donnie was in the driveway. Sonia, my stepsister, Donnie's biological sister, was standing there. My mom was standing there. My dad was standing there, all in the driveway. Donnie and my dad were arguing very, very, very badly. I mean, to the point to where my mom was crying, my dad was crying. Finally, my dad told him, get in your truck and get the hell out of here. I never want to see you again. Because Donnie was like trying to fist fight my dad, okay? Who was then like 50% bedridden, and when Donnie seen me pull up, I think that even got him even more pissed off, and he just looked at me and jumped in his truck and took off, and then Sonia left right after him, and I guess they went to Sonia's house, and then Donnie left just for Tennessee like an hour or two after that. So
because he claimed that it was because of Jose is why he left.
I don't know. Maybe that might have been some of the reason he might have went back, but most of it was because he was trying to fist fight my dad.
Right.
And my dad couldn't take it anymore. He just told him, he said, get off my property. Get out of my house. I don't want you here.
Get off my property.
Right?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah.
So he had just had enough. Is that what you're saying? I mean, it was just chaos. So basically he just brought chaos to town like he does everywhere.
Yep. And the funny thing about it is when Donnie left here, and I believe it was 97, he pretty much left the same way. Him and my dad were in a fight, and my dad just told him, "Get the hell out of here! I don't want you here."
Isn't your father your stepfather bedridden?
He is now. Yeah,
he wasn't at the time.
In 2021, he was about 50%, I would say, bedridden.
But he was feeble. He was old. He was sick.
Right. Yeah.
And Don wanted to fight him. I'm sure he would deny that.
Oh, I'm sure he will. Yeah. But
he'd probably deny everything that's been said.
Got my husband to back me up on that one.
Yeah, no, look, Mary, we've talked about all this stuff before, and look, if I didn't believe you, we wouldn't be talking about it. I absolutely believe you. I've experienced Don for myself many different times, had interactions with him that were just absolutely insane. And I've told people this before, but when he called in and he was telling people, that him and I were friends and all this, I mean, I can't tell you how many times that guy left a voicemail hammered, like, pick up your phone. He'd call me a bitch, and he'd call me, whatever, on and on. Sometimes it'd be the N word. Sometimes it would be, and it was just a really constant type thing for a couple, well, at least a week. And then finally, when I talked to him, he screamed at me at the top of his lungs and called me the N-word. And him and I have, like, we've never met in person, but, like, I've never talked to anybody like that. So I could just see, he'll talk to a stranger. And by the way, like, and I understand why he was mad at me. I get it. But, I offered to talk to him fine. And the last conversation that we did have, and hopefully ever, it was him really going at me for the first 20 minutes, and then he settled down. So I don't know, man. It's just, I don't get, like, I get why he would want to lie about this, because it doesn't make him look good.
Right.
But also, you and I, neither one of us have any idea what he did or didn't do with Summer, or if he is directly involved or directly responsible or oblivious, because all of those things are possible, right? I mean, it is it's possible.
Yeah. And that's another thing too. I've never, I've speculated. I have my opinions on what might have happened.
Sure.
Which are quite a few,
Right.
But yeah.
So what do you think? So what do you think happened? Just, speculate like everybody else does.
Right. Well, I have a few, the very first speculation, when I first heard that she went missing, my thought was Donnie did it. Okay. And the other thought that I went to was he was waiting in the basement for her. Okay. But then all this other stuff started coming out, and, you try and put pieces together and try and figure out what happened, and then there is a lot of trafficking going on, right there where he lives, and then I thought, well, maybe he did sell her, because Josh, he came to Utah and he kept trying to get money from my dad and stuff, and so I feel like he needed money, and when it didn't work out for him like he planned on, which I think he planned on, moving his family down here and into my mom and dad's house. And, I think he planned that. But when that didn't fall through for him and he didn't get what he wanted, he had to go back to Tennessee.
Did your father have money to give him? Stepfather?
Not really. Not really, no. No, and I mean, they had to take out a reverse mortgage on their home like 5 years ago, just so they could keep up with their bills and pay their bills, And
how much was he looking for? Do you know?
I don't know, but he kept trying to push my dad into leaving him the house. I know that much.
Yeah, well, that's not going to work with a reverse mortgage.
Right, and well, yeah, he'd have to come up with, I believe it's like $89,000 just to pay off the reverse mortgage, so with that, and not only that, Donnie sits and says, well, my evil stepsisters, that's what he calls us.
Yeah. Real clever, by the way.
Right.
Probably watched Cinderella a bunch as a kid.
Right. And so he thinks that we want the house or something. That's why we're coming out with all these allegations and everything. And Donnie calls it the estate. My dad's estate, he was going to leave me the estate. And it's like, what estate? The house was falling apart. The house was falling apart when they bought it in 1977. And it's really bad now. I mean, the pipes don't work. I mean, when you turn the water on, the water dribbles, okay? And that's the amount of the pressure. And, they've got tons of rats and stuff and mice all over the house. And, they've been trying to get rid of them too, but it's really hard when you're, pretty much on your deathbed, you can't do much. And
right.
So, but yeah, there was even little trees growing up in the back bedroom about a year ago that I had to go in there and pick the trees out of the floor because, the house is literally falling apart. And Donnie calls it an estate. It's like, really, Donnie? Okay.
Have you ever talked to Don's dad or your stepfather about Summer?
Yeah, I have. I've talked to him, when she first went missing,
Does he have an opinion?
Well, I asked him, I said, well, what do you think happened? And he goes, the first thing out of my dad's mouth was, I think Donnie got messed up with a gang or the wrong people. And he said, he's in trouble. There's something going on. He's in trouble. He got messed up with the wrong people. That's what my dad said. So I don't know if Donnie told him that or if that's just his opinion. I don't know.
Right. Wow. When I was listening the other day, Pam's friend said that he also tried to sell little Donnie in Arkansas. Is that correct?
That's what she said. Now, I don't know.
That's what she said. You're not privy to that information, but that's what was said.
Yeah, that's what was said. Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man. A lot of people, and I've read about this, I say phenomenon, but a lot of people state hop due to CPS investigations. And it kind of, in some cases, kind of restarts the clock. Meaning, you know, like it has to be transferred over to the state that they're in. You can't arrest, like, it's not like you can go just arrest them across state lines for whatever. But, you know, to me, I mean, that would be a motive for wanting to move his kids back, or move his family back.
Right. Well, yeah, you know, and because that's what he did before when he was married with Pam.
Which he denies.
Every time CPS came to their house, they wouldn't let him in. They wouldn't answer the door. And if they came too often, they would just up and leave.
Yeah. And
that's get rid of CPS, we'll just move.
Alicia says, I think they were both at the dealer's house, and Don left one of their kids because he and Pam were high. Pam had to go back and get them. Is that a separate time?
That must have been a separate time, yeah.
Okay, because what you've told and consistently told was Pam was the one that was telling you guys this.
Well, yeah, she was crying, Josh. She didn't have anywhere to go. She didn't have anybody to turn to. So she comes to my mom's, you know, and she comes in and she's crying and she's just like, Donnie is totally out of control. He's on drugs really bad. I just caught him trying to sell little Donnie. I don't know what to do. And she's crying, you know, and we're all trying to console her, you know. And then she left the kids there. And after about an hour, she left the kids there with us. And then she left and went and found Donnie and brought him back to the house to talk to my dad so my dad could talk to him, you know, about what he's doing and his drug problem and everything. So, you know, and I just think that my dad thought that he could fix him, you know, by himself. But you can't. I mean, Donnie needed more help than what my dad could try to fix, you know?
Mm-hmm. Right. There was a story that you and I talked about where Don had lost track of little Donnie. You remember telling me that one?
Yeah.
Would you share that with it? And you were there for this, correct?
Oh, yes. It was like, I think it was like Thanksgiving. You know, we all used to gather at my mom's house and have a big, you know, family gathering. And Donnie had went outside and got high with one of his friends or somebody that was there. And anyways, so he comes back in the house and Pam had left. She had went to go do something. Well, she took little Donnie with her. And Donnie, after being all drugged up, going out and doing his drugs, and he comes in and he's sitting there in the front room. And all of a sudden, he jumps up and he's all flustered and freaking out. And I'm like, what? What's going on? And he goes, I can't find little Donnie. And I was like, what? And so, I mean, everybody at the house, we're all walking around, you know, trying to find little Donnie because we didn't know, you know. We thought Donnie had him and he lost him. And then Pam came in. And she has little Donnie. And everybody's like, oh, my God. And she's like, Donnie, you're so stupid. I had him the whole time. You know?
And that was drug related. Like he was allegedly high.
Yeah. Yep.
And as you know, Pam, was Pam an addict as well?
She was. She did meth a little bit. But she was more into smoking weed. So,
alcohol or anything?
no, I don't think she was a real big drinker. I think her thing was just smoking weed a lot, and she did do meth a little bit, but I don't think as much,
Right.
because I mean, and that's another thing. She was saying that I don't even know Mary. It's like, really? Well, gosh, I wonder who that lady was that was in my front room almost daily while her husband came over and done our drywall for us in our house that we had just bought, for months. So
here's another one. Did you at one point plan on adopting one of Don's kids or both of his kids?
Yeah, we were going to adopt little Margie. My husband wanted to adopt little Donnie too, but we were going to adopt little Margie first. And we had
your husband that you're with now?
Huh?
Your current husband?
No.
Okay.
This was with my ex-husband.
Okay.
Yeah. My ex-husband for 28 years, actually. So.
Okay.
Yeah, we were going to, adopt little Margie, and we went through a lawyer. We were doing it all legal, and they came to the house to sign the papers, and we told them we were going to give them 10 grand for it because we were trying to help them out. You know what I mean? We didn't just want to make them feel like, oh, we're just taking your daughter or something,
Right.
And so we had the papers all drawn up, and they came over to sign them, and that's to me. She goes, well, I can still come and get Margie and stuff on the weekends and stuff, right? And come and visit her. And my husband was like, no way, nope. If we adopt her, she's going to be our daughter. They're signing their rights away. Nope. No contact at all. And she looked at me and she's like, nope, I ain't signing the papers. If I can't still come pick her up and interact with her, I'm not signing. And Donnie got all pissed off about it, and he's like, just sign the papers so we can get our money and get the hell out of here. All Donnie was thinking about was getting the money, and actually we didn't even have the full 10,000, Chris, Josh. We had $3,000 in cash, and then we were going to give them a couple of more payments for $3,000 a piece until it was paid off. And, but yeah,
Who came up with that number?
The 10,000?
Mm-hmm.
Me and my husband, because we were figuring it up. And back then, it costs money, to adopt kids, you know what I mean? Not to mention the money that we had to pay the lawyer to drop the papers and everything. So.
And did you start that process with a lawyer?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have paperwork for that, or you had?
Yeah. Well, I had. Yeah, I can actually even try and see if I can't find him if he's still in practice.
Wow.
That's incredible. We wanted to be legal, Josh. We weren't trying to.
No, I know.
Buy her to get away with anything. We wanted to do it legal.
Sure, of course. No, of course.
So
that's rough. That is. And so she wanted to see the children or her on the weekend. And your husband said, no, that's not how it's going to happen.
Right.
What was Don's reaction to that?
Donnie didn't care. All he wanted was for Pam to sign the papers so they could grab the money and get the hell out of there. That's all Donnie wanted to do.
And you heard him say that?
Yeah. Yeah. He was pissed. And he told Pam, just sign the goddamn paper. Let's get our money and get the hell out of here. And Pam's like, no, I'm not doing it. And that was that. They left without signing the papers, and Donnie was bitching the whole way out the door.
Wow.
You know, so
Wow. So that never happened.
no,
But
you
it was
know,
in the
and
works. Okay.
It was. And my daughter, she was so happy. She's like, Mom, I've always wanted to have a little sister. And I'm like, right? Yeah. You know, we're going to make this happen. You know, because me and my husband, we were.
Were you concerned for the kids?
Huh?
Were you concerned for the kids?
Yeah. You know, we were tired of seeing them, the kids being raised the way they were being raised.
Right. Right. Wow. I mean, that it's just, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not,
No,
it's
and
not
they
crazy.
can-
Like, people do give their children up for adoption, and in a lot
Right.
of aspects, that is one of the most loving things that and difficult things that a parent can do if they know that they're not capable of taking care of their children properly. And
Right.
so I don't fault anybody for that, but they're just, I just don't understand how, he goes around and denies every single little thing.
Right. Well, he denies it because he don't want stuff like that coming out, Josh. So he's going to make up a story or deny everything because he wants people to think that I'm lying, when I'm not. I don't have any reason to lie, And I mean, exactly. Why would I lie about something like that? Especially when we had papers drawn up from a lawyer. Are you kidding me? Really? And I've got my ex-husband and my daughter. I mean, if they want to hear from them, I'm sure they'll come forward too,
Well, like I said, I don't believe that you're lying one bit.
Right.
And to not, it's not really necessary to get, I know that you could, and that's not really something that I don't think that we really need to do, because you've told me the same story for close to a year and a half now.
Right. Right. Yep.
And
Yep.
some of this information today that we talked about is somewhat new, but
yeah,
but you've talked about it before. You've talked about other things before, and so that's what happens when somebody comes at you, or when people come at you and call you a liar and tell you that you're making stuff up, and you are. That's why you're here, is to tell how you feel, what happened with you. These are your words, and you stand behind these words. And if somebody wants to call you a liar, that's up to them.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that I've learned a lot about that too. At first I really thought that I had to really defend myself and stuff, and defend us. But then as time has gone by, it's like, why do I have to defend myself? You know what I mean? So,
well, yeah, exactly. Because people like to. I just couldn't imagine myself defending Don in any way, shape, or form. Even if you've never said anything about him, you personally. I mean,
right.
There's just, he hasn't been a very nice person. A lady called the show yesterday and said that he's going to allow them to search in the middle of March on his property. I don't believe that. Now, I believe that he told her that, and I believe that she believes that she's going to be able to. But I've heard this one before.
Right.
Do you think that do you think that he would allow a search on his property?
I don't know. The last time that they searched his property, somebody was interviewing him. I'm not quite sure who it was. He was standing by his truck or something, putting like buckets or something into the back of that white truck, and you could see it in his face and his eyes. He was like worried, like way bad. I don't know about what, but you could see it in his face.
Yeah, and he had that kind of look like, early on too in some of those interviews. Miss Curvy says, Mary, please, for the YouTube records, you're not homeless and you don't need your stepdad's house. As Dawn says, this is why you're trying to put him in jail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So wait, he said
that
you were homeless?
Right. So I live in a trailer. Okay. It's a 2-bedroom trailer. It's a nice trailer.
Is that a double
I love
wide?
my house. No, it's not a double wide. But we've remodeled it. We've knocked walls down. We've extended the front room. We've added on another bedroom onto the side of it. It's a really nice trailer, and they're cheaper, to live in, but a lot of people can't afford to buy a house,
I love trailers.
And my dad even offered me the house. It was before Summer went missing. And he had called me and he said, well, me and your mom have been talking, and we want you to come and live with us when he wanted me to come and live with my mom and take care of her and the dog and the house after he passed. And I said, well, Dad, I planned on doing that anyway. And he said, well, we want to give you the house. And I'm like, Dad, I don't want that house. I have a house of my own. And he goes, well, I want to give it to you for taking care of your mom and the house and the animals and everything. And so just to satisfy him, I said, fine, whatever. Well, after I got off the phone with him, I called my brother Randy. And I told him, I said, Dad wants to give me the house. And he goes, well, he can give the house to whoever he wants to, but there's that mortgage that needs to be paid off.
Right.
And I'm like, right. And I said, Randy, I don't want the house. I don't want that crappy old thing, And the same with, Jeannie. She don't want the house. As a matter of fact, she just bought her a house, like a month ago. And she don't want nothing to do with that broken down old piece of crap house, it's what my mom and dad have, and it's what they have left until they pass. And we're trying to keep them together and, keep them in the house together and everything else. But I asked my mom a couple of years ago. I was over there visiting, and I said, so what's going to happen with the house and everything? Do you guys have a will or what? And she goes, yes, we do. And she said that after we both pass, the house is to be sold, all the bills are to be paid off, and then whatever's left is to be divided between 9 kids, which is the 6 of my mom's and the 3 of my dad. So that's what's supposed to happen with the house and everything.
Look, my grandparents had a Winnebago, and it was like that old school kind of box looking one, dude.
Right.
I would love to live in that thing. It'd be awesome.
Right.
Oh, it's just like it's time. It's just like, now that my kids are getting older and stuff, like it's just, you can just drive it around anywhere, and just, hey, there you go, park it at a little KOA or something. But yeah, look, so that's a lie. The homeless thing's a lie. And, Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. So that's not true. I didn't even know that he said that, but it makes sense that he would.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I heard about that, something about that. But yeah, no, I'm not homeless.
Well, that's good.
I'm happy where I'm at.
I have Wi-Fi and everything.
Yep, I sure do.
I mean, is there anything else, Mary? I mean, we've covered a lot. If you got more, feel free.
Well, I don't know. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I'm sure there are all kinds.
Try to answer them to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, we can do that. Let's. They're just gonna come flying in now.
Right.
Hold on. We'll take some. We'll take some here. Yeah, it would be hard for you to cook if you were homeless.
Right? Yeah, I guess it would be.
No, we're not going to talk about our case update. That's I'm not talking about ongoing investigations.
I'll just say it's still going on.
Yeah,
it's still there.
Still
so
there.
Don't everybody think that it's not there, because it's still there.
Did you ever meet Rose Marie Bly?
Nope, I never did.
Never met her. Okay.
Nope.
Somebody just asked, you doing okay, Mary?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I mean, there's some days that I get kind of upset and stuff, but I make it through it. I'm strong.
I know you are. And for all this time where I said, look, it wasn't that I was avoiding having you on. It was that I thought that I was protecting you. And then I messed up, that I admit. And it is in my mind. And I know other people are like, well, no, you didn't. In my mind, I did. And so all that criticism about that situation that I have apologized for ad nauseum and have no problem apologizing again for, that was me.
Right.
Direct it towards me. That was me that brought it up. Not Mary. Mary didn't just come out of the woodwork and say that. I had that information. I shared it, and there you go.
Right. Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Pixie Cat, I'm not gonna answer that question. Don says that he was verbally abused, not physically. That's what he says. How old is Pam?
Oh gosh. Okay, she's
probably the same age as Candace.
3 years. She is 3 years younger than my mom, and my mom will be 80 years old this November. So she's what, 77? Yeah, she's pretty old. She tried saying that when her and Donnie got together, she tried saying that she was only like 40 something, I think.
Nice.
But then, she left her driver's license on the table one day, and I was looking at it, and I'm like, oh my God, she's almost as old as my mom.
That's oh man, that's like the first original Catfish.
Yeah, she's like 77 now. Yeah,
her social security card, her number is 2. That's how old. I'm just kidding. Suzanne says, oh, crap. Okay, Suzanne says, Mary, it's great to hear from you. Great show, Josh. Thank you. Keep the heat on. And I appreciate you saying that. She's been called a liar incessantly. It's been bugging me, and that's why she's here. Not for some stunt, not for some, tragedy, pimp exposure, whatever people want to call it. She has been attacked, and the least that I could do was offer my platform so she could defend herself in a safe place, because I've been on other channels and it sucks most of the time. That, you know, the chat will distract you. They'll say mean things about, you know, people are always going to say, well, that person's lying, this or that. It's just not going to, it just doesn't go here. It's just not going to happen, you know?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Do you think, so it says, do you think Dawn or Candy, or which is Candace? But you've clearly said that you think that it's Dawn that has the information.
Well, I think they both do. Because I don't know, Donnie's either covering up for Candace or something, because they both know where she's at. Because, I mean, the way they've been acting since she's been missing, I'm sorry, Josh, but normal people who have a 5-year-old daughter go missing do not act that way. They do not say the things that Donnie and Candace have said. You know, so they both know, you know, where she's at. And that's another reason why they don't go look for her. Because why go look for somebody or something when you know where they're at? And it's the only explanation.
What did you make of her statements just the other day about the reason that she doesn't search is because if somehow miraculously that they find her out there, that people would blame her. What do you make of that? Gosh, you know, it is so weird, the stuff that even comes out of Candace's mouth. I mean, it's like, why would you even say that? I mean, for one thing, 300,000 people think she had something to do with it anyway. Well, that's kind of what I said. I said, I mean, that doesn't matter. I mean, I can't wrap my head around that comment. The only thing that really meant anything to me towards the end is when she said, you know, where she said, like, and I'm sorry. Now, could she say, you know, I'm sorry that this happened to you? Yes. But I mean, there seemed to be a little bit of real emotion in there. I'm not reading into it too much, but, you know, obviously, you know, people say, well, she doesn't feel guilt, or she doesn't. I don't know if she does or not. I would imagine that any person, that's why people get drunk and high and things like that, is so that they don't have to deal with those emotions. And when you're not, you are dealing with raw emotion. But everything leading up to that, let's all stop fighting. Let's find Summer, and all that lip service is there. She says, but then after that happens, after all that's said, nothing happens.
Right.
There is no looking. There is no coming together. There is nothing. Matt, remember, for 14 months, what's going on, man? But so there's none of that. It's all just lip service. Right.
Well, yeah, it is, and I really do think the reason for that is because, like I said, why go look for someone when you already know where she's at? Of course, you're not gonna, you know, go out and hand out flyers and stuff because, well, why? You're just wasting your time because you already know where she's at. Why even do it? That's my opinion.
Well, look, I share the same opinion, and, you know, her using the words, let's start to look for her. Let's all come together and start to try to find. The starting was June 15th, 2021.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't really understand this. Let's start to try to, okay, you know, let's all reset
Mm-hmm.
That's not how this
Yeah.
works.
Almost 2 years later, yeah. I mean, you know, if it was me and I lived up there on that hill, I would have turned that whole house, the whole property, into like a, you know, like a station, like a, you know, where you could go to and have people come and look for her. And
When did you first find out that Summer went missing?
the day she went missing, I went to my mom. I walked through the house. I started talking to my mom. My mom's like, "Shh, your dad's on the phone with Donnie." And I'm like, "Oh, great. Now what does he want?" You know?
Right.
My mom goes, his daughter's missing. And I said, "I didn't know he had a daughter. I thought he just had boys." And she goes, "No, he's got a 5-year-old daughter." And I was like, "Oh, I thought, God, I had no idea."
So wait a minute. You didn't even know that that Summer existed.
No.
And
I didn't.
he was there for 6 months.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I had no clue. Had no clue he had a daughter. I thought he had all boys.
Wow.
Yep. I had no clue. And that's another thing, you know, when my niece's daughter had a little girl and she named her Winter. And Donnie, she was actually living with my mom and dad when she was pregnant with her. And Donnie had called my mom and dad's house one day, and he was talking to JC, you know, who was pregnant, and he was like, "Yeah, we have a little girl named Summer." And she goes, "Oh, well, I was going to name my little girl Winter." But that was JC, you know. I mean, I don't run into JC very often, you know, so I didn't know that she had been talking to Donnie or anything about that, you know, about names or anything. And so when this all came out, a lot of people were going, "Well, how could they not know that they didn't have a daughter? Donnie talked to whoever, and that's why they named her Winter," and all this stuff. And I'm like, "No, dude, we didn't even know he had a daughter." You know, so.
Did your mother and stepfather know?
I think they did, but I just, you know, it never came up. I mean, the only time we talked about them having kids was, my mom had told me that Donnie had gotten remarried and he had a couple of kids and he was living in his mom's house in Tennessee. That's all I knew. You know, there was no talk of boys or girls or nothing like that, you know. So.
Wow. I mean, that's something. I mean, so when you find out that that Summer's missing, this is the first time that you had ever heard Summer's name. You didn't even know she existed, correct?
Yeah. I had no clue. Yep. I knew he had boys, but that's what I thought he had.
Do you think he kept it from you on purpose?
He could have. Yeah. You know, I mean, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that, but in the chat, people are saying, that is something that you guys have both said, that you did not know that Summer existed.
Yeah, we didn't know, you know, and you know, for Donnie to construe it into saying that we knew because he was talking to JC that night at my mom and dad. I didn't know no conversation went on, you know. I don't talk to JC about that stuff, or you know what I mean?
Right. So here's a question for you, Mary. Can you ask Mary if Sonia would ever have kept Summer to protect her from CPS has her home been checked?
No, I don't think her home has been checked, but I don't know. I don't know. Some people, I guess she could have, but I don't see her doing that.
Right,
but,
right. And sure. Let's see. So we're not really. It's okay. So, let me grab a couple questions here. Here's a good one. Question for Mary: is Dawn too stubborn to confess?
Yeah. Don, it's not the stubbornness.
Selfish.
Donnie will never. Yeah, Donnie will never confess because he don't want to go to prison. He don't want to go to jail.
Hey, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yep, that's why.
He'll
never, ever.
And he says that he would be willing to take the blame, or not the blame, but serve the time for his daughter, or something along those lines.
Right.
Yeah, I am guessing that Don's probably pissed off right now, but you know what?
Sure he is.
I don't care.
Yeah.
We went into this knowing that, but the only reason, I'm telling you, the only reason this has happened is other people picked it up, trashed your name, called you a liar, and so here we are.
Yeah.
Yep. Fair is fair is fair.
Yep.
It's just we have a bigger reach.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
So more people get to hear this.
Right.
And when I said what I said, there was more people here, and I just think that it was really important to provide you this platform because let me see. Come on.
Yep.
True Cowgirl says, Mary, do you think it will all come out? Not from Donnie, but maybe Candace?
Yeah, I think maybe because I don't know. I think I don't know. Maybe down the road they might split up or something, and maybe she'll come to her senses, tell everybody what happened. But right now, I think Donnie has her under his wing because he's just like my dad. Okay. I know he's Donnie's dad, but I've always called him my dad because...
Fair enough.
Because, I hate to say it, but he's been more of a father to me than my real dad was.
Understood, yeah, for sure.
And so, I don't know, it's just like when him and my mom got together, it was just like natural. For some reason, I just started calling him dad. And so...
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of codependency going on there.
Well, my dad has and he always has. He's had control over my mom. What he said over the years through the house goes. It wasn't like up for discussion. It was nothing like that. What my dad said went, and that was the end of it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I really do think that Donnie is that way with Candace. Mm-hmm. In the past, all my dad's had to do is look at my mom, and she'll climb up tighter than you would not believe, and she will not say one word. And it's just from one look that my dad would give her. And I think Donnie does the same thing with Candace.
This question comes from Trevor. Has Don always had this wildly strong fear of jail, like more than anything, as he does now?
In the past, I don't think it really bothered him to go to jail and stuff because he would always know that he would be out in a couple of months or 6 months or a year down the road. But for some reason, he's scared to go back to Utah prison. Now, I don't know if maybe while he was in there, somebody might have threatened him or something. I don't know.
Right. I mean, I don't know either. I know that every time that I have talked to him and ran scenarios by him, he would always go, "Oh, that's a felony. Oh, that's a felony." That was his thing.
Right.
Did he ever say that with you? Does he ever say that with you?
Well, I know he's scared to get another felony. I know that one time he had called my dad, and it was after he left here. He got in trouble. It was probably a year or two, I think, after he left Utah.
Right.
Anyways, he had called my dad, and he had gotten in trouble. I think it was for like armed robbery or something. I can't remember.
Alleged.
Right. So he called my dad, and he said, well, he had went to court, and the judge told him, if I see you one more time in my courtroom, I will put you on a chain gang. And Donnie was terrified. He's like, I do not want to be on a chain gang. And they still have them today.
Yeah, in Utah. Yeah. They, yeah, I plead the fifth. No, he didn't. That's great. So I've talked to him at least about, so I when I talked to him, I said, look, if you were to turn, I said, I think it's too late for you to turn Candace in if it was her. And he's like, well, no, I could. And I said, you could, but you'd face some charges, you know, you'd have to make a deal. And he's like what? And I go, well, Don, that's accessory after the fact. And then he goes,
right.
Oh, that's a felony. I go, yeah, it is a felony. He doesn't like, he's always like, there's been a couple conversations where he's like, oh, he's like, wait, no, is that a felony? Yeah, it's a felony. Oh, no.
Yeah.
No. So, and it's probably because he has a couple felonies already. And right. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's a 3-strike rule somewhere, or a 10-strike rule or whatever the hell it is. But yeah, oh man, is that a felony? That's a felony. Yeah, it's a big time felony.
Yeah. Right.
And then also the guns in his house or the bullets. He's like, that's a felony too.
Right.
Yeah, dude, you do a lot of things that could be considered a felony. It's just like,
yeah. Did you hear him on there? He was saying something to the effect of, them bullets in my safe were my mom. Well, how long has your mom been dead? Like 10 years? 12 years?
Right.
Hello? You still have your mom's bullets? Okay.
We're going over legal charges and accessory after the fact. Oh, that's a felony, big time.
Yeah.
It's like that's what I told him. I said, I mean, because he goes, no, I could turn her in if I thought that she had done something. Now I said, yeah, you definitely could, but you would have to make some sort of deal, Dawn. And he was like, yeah. I said, because you'd get charged if you knew that something happened and you hadn't said anything up until this point. That's accessory after the fact, and that's when he went, well, that's a felony. Like, yeah, big time.
Yeah.
But, so I just found that I kind of got a chuckle out of it because I've never really thought quite like that, but it makes sense. You know, misdemeanors, felonies.
Yeah.
In his, in his world. But all right, Mary. Well, thank you so much. We've been going on 2 hours now, and this went. I believe it went well, and don't worry if there's any backlash because nobody over here cares. And you're telling the truth.
And not only that, it goes away after a couple of days anyway, so it's all good.
Well, that's true too. One thing that I do want to mention that I've always found just completely odd and scary, and hold on. This is Marlena has a question. Mary, can you verify that was really Margie's voice on that interview? Stay strong. We love you.
Yes, that was Margie. Yeah, that was Margie. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's see. So one of the things when McDonough asked Dawn, what do you think should happen to the person who did this? And his initial response was, oh, I don't know. And I don't wish prison on anybody. That question is like a really standard question that gets asked. And he had about the most odd response you've ever heard in your life. Do you remember that?
I do. Yep.
Because
yeah,
my answer would have probably been, and not to be overly dramatic, but like, I want to set him on fire and throw him in a dumpster and then push it down a hill somewhere, and then they can go to jail. Yeah.
Well, my answer would have been tie him to a stake and torture him and then put him in prison.
No doubt. No doubt. So I just always found that odd too. I mean, he's sympathetic towards criminals, but Mary, thank you so much for being here. Everybody in the chat loves you. They said thank you for speaking out and speaking your truth. If you love cooking channels like I do, if you love to eat like I do, and can somebody please put Mary's channel up? It has nothing to do with summer. It is a cooking channel, and she cooks some really good stuff. I recommend the Diaz dog.
Yeah.
And the McDonough plant burger.
Yeah. They turned out great, didn't they?
Yeah. That was so good. And then like I've made, I made a few things, but those wings, the Tabasco and beer wings. Oh my gosh.
Right. Aren't they so good? Yeah. You can't just eat one of them. I think that was one of my best recipes.
Oh,
was the wings.
So good. It was just fantastic. Thank you so much, Mary, and we'll be in contact.
All right. You have
strong.
A good night, Doc.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there it was. Setting the record straight. It's what happens when you call people liars. Then they just, double down and she, she's not wavering. She's not wavering. She's not being, maneuvered. She's not doing any of that. She had been wanting to clear up what had happened in the thing that I messed up. And I did. And I apologize. But, she has the right to defend herself. So go crazy with it if you want. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for showing up. The 2 new members, the super chats and stickers, the likes, the shares, the support, the love. Mary is a warrior. And while none of us claim to be perfect, Dawn, you're a dick.
There is no investigation. This boy has...
There is not, really? This to me.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
But I had to put her on the side and where
I'm gonna do what I gotta do for me and my boys and my kids.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
There is no investigation. This boy
There is
has...
not, really? This to me. Right, idiot.
I've done my best. It's hard, it's real tough.
but I had to put her on the side and where it was the boys.
I'm gonna do what I gotta do for me and my boys and my kids.
say any F's and stuff.
Live from the NBD Production Studios, you're in the lab with your host, Joshua Diaz.
There is no investigation. This boy has.
There is not, really? It is to me.
But I have to put her on the side and worry about the boys. But I have to.
There is no investigation.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
But I have to put her. But I have to put her on the side and worry about the boys.
I have nothing to hide at all.
Oh my gosh, it's so nice in there. It's unbelievable.
But you know,
Yeah, federal prison is a cakewalk. I've been in federals. It's a cakewalk.
well, look,
It's so
that's
nice
the one
in
you want
there.
to be in.
Oh my gosh, it's so nice in there. It's unbelievable.
But